So it appears that I'm gonna read this book for a very sliverous inclination of just a different genetic pool, right? And when I say genetic pool, that's a pretty hefty inclination of a statement, right? Because the spiritual woo woo, it would say all of this oneness jargon, right? So there's a bunch of jargon of oneness. And when we go through life and life is reflecting not a oneness, then the individual human being has to be like, okay, the rhetoric in which the spiritual industry is saying that there's something of a oneness, and then we get lost in judging the titles and the names and the classifications, and they hold weight, emotionally charged, distortion emotionally charged, titles hold weight with distorted emotional charges, and it's beyond the envy too, right? Because obviously that envy is there, but what is slightly beyond the envy is how we're supercharging titles and names, and we're over time we're giving it an affinity for it to like mean something that it doesn't mean, right? And obviously, when those phases come of a different cleansing, but over time we're giving something a meaning, right? And obviously the emotions are underplayed, and the emotions are rising and declining simultaneously within the season of it, within the standard astronomical weather season. So that energy season, it has a play, right? So since the energy season has a play and it's not muted, so I don't know why there would be no audio after. And obviously that last 30-minute video, it will be what do you call that, re-reclamated, right? If that even means anything. So there are things that are being re-reclamated, and we're out of alignment with some type of notion of quote unquote emotional purity, meaning a lot of shadow work could be done to check our own emotions and to do a bunch of other fucking titillating work of giving new meanings to false, distorted objects of meanings, and giving new meanings to just something of like just giving a new meaning to how things have different types of radical change. And Sagittarii could be the spirit of change, or the change of the spirit, respectively, within some type of surface level to dream type of mix, right? Because obviously it's also beyond the subjective fantasy as well, right? So there's a subjective fantasy and there's a reality going on, right? And for some reason, we're like, that's what the Neptune shit is. In between that shit is the Neptune shit, and beyond the Neptune shit, respectively, is we're touching base, most respectively, with some type of new reality, pause, some type of authentic reality, pause, some type of fresh, pure, energetic reality, pause. And all of us human beings, not good, not bad, no guilt trip here, we're smack dab in the middle of the grandeur ocean of illusions, quote unquote, the Neptune shit, not good, not bad. It's our own participation in the game, and what collectively surface level human beings are putting out, and they're getting back. That's the Neptune shit, the quote unquote illusion to illusion breaking, right? So beyond the Neptune shit is God's reality. And now in the surface level going towards the out, the base of that outerness is the Neptune shit, right? And then on top of the Neptune shit is the external artificial fantasies that we are bringing upon ourselves karmically. So the intelligence is unmatched. Your guru is not going to say it like this. Your president is not going to say it like this. Your president is not going to have an agenda for a different type of authentic, fresh liberation with the pure intelligence. Your president and your guru, they're not going to fucking do that shit. There's some degree and context of fear, bluntly. So within that degree and context of fear, bluntly, that will get checked by the quote unquote the authentic pure light of the other planetary archetypes, and how that could like kind of see the ups and downs of the Neptune wave, because the Neptune wave, it's big illusions fading and coming, and emotional surface level experiences more or less going in and out of that Neptunian wave. And the Neptunian wave is carrying all of the illusions slightly before the emotions, and our emotions and how we're viewing our karmic relationship with our own illusions that we're giving out and receiving. That's our karmic shit, and that's our emotional shit that you have to take mature esoteric responsibility for. So this is like the number one intelligence if you read between the lines. And I'm gonna fucking read this motherfucking Shiva book for a real bigger fucking picture. I'll showcase and reveal the book today for my own fucking dharma, intellectually and energetically, beyond all of the fluff, beyond all the distorted Krishna shit too, because energetically within the math of the esoteric science, we're in the surface level, lower octave, quote unquote, more or less pockets of Neptune shit, right? Maya, illusion, your own subjective field. And obviously, more or less, you could dismiss, Vedics, connecting with the astrology. You could unconsciously dismiss that. So none of you fucking, none of you, quote unquote, balanced Hindus could see the number one, overcoming of the irrelevant debates. What does that mean, irrelevant debates? You're not discussing the more relevant topic based on your indoctrination of GMO tribulations and subjective confusion and fear, right? So what do I mean by subjective confusion and fear? You have to, intellectual shadow work. I'm an air sign, but I'm all the signs beyond the astrology too, but there's an air inclination and talent, right, that we more or less have. So with the advanced intelligence, for real, originally, authentically, subjectively, we're bringing in our own confusion, our own fear in the reality, and in the future that could be setting us as some type of proxy roadblock. So there's a proxy roadblock within the collective intelligence of whatever we're calling 2025 planet Earth, right? So and I'm not demonizing anything. I'm just seeing how something could be in its fallen state, because that's just the natures and rhythms of life. That which goes up must come down, and that which goes down must come up on a different accord, because life's timing is not on your timing. The algorithm of, the fates or life or whatever the fuck you want to call it, the algorithm of nature. We could put in some type of intention and energy work, but the key is how to not expect is important, because life's timing isn't on our timing. All we could do is try to follow suit energetically, right? Number one intelligence, respectively, more or less, right? Until it's collectively, maturely proven with mature, honest approaches, right? Because obviously, people don't really like someone who brags too much either, right? Something like that. But within that, it's we could ask what's going on within the chaos of things, the different types of, notes of transformation. and significantly how that transformation of the seasons heightens during a season plummet. Scorpio and Sag and Libs. That's the fall of the skies and some type of celestial sphere craft of certain types of niche expressions of said planets, right? So within the fall season, Libra, Scorpio, and Sag, it's big transformation because there's a plummeting of energies of the sun being in a certain exalted time, and that having within a travel within some type of niche nuanced solar system. There's a passing and there's a downpouring of lessened light, and within that lessened light different contexts of more transformation come, and obviously that more transformation could be like indicatively different on based on the context of however you're seeing the transformation of just yourself and the earth, particularly through the seasons, right? So the transformation is always there, but it could be heightened within the fall time, respectively. So the transformation is heightened. What is going on? The last 2 weeks, new moon started on third decan Scorpio. So within that mega fucking change, mega fucking polarization within the new moon and the aspects of Uranus and Mercury opposition. And Uranus Mercury opposition, what's that saying is like you could focus on the ancient past, or you could focus on some type of anxious type of detailed logical future in how it's expressing itself more so in third decan Scorpio. We can look at the aquatics of things. Mercury in third decan Scorpio, we can look at the details of the aquatics and the progressive water future and the water tech, right? Mercury is low-key about like the details of the tech too. So Mercury opposing Uranus, third decan Taurus, third decan Gemini, third decan Taurus, third decan Scorpio, most respectively. When planets oppose, it's kind of bringing light to like some type of polarization, right? It's like, are we going to be like dry or wet, right? So respectively, the earth signs are dry and the water signs are wet. The fire signs are hot and the air signs are cold. Standardly, right? Within nature being the fucking first teacher, right? Before anybody says, oh, I made this shit, but I can't prove how I fucking made that shit. No, it's not that fucking false fabricated shit. It's saying within the new moon and the new sun in Sag and this area of the seasons, Uranus and Mercury are pooling in different constellations while the sun is amplifying a certain type of theme of change and movement and transformation, more so in the center arena of like where we're coming out of the dream world, right? The like when the sun is in a certain season, it's like we're more or less like the collective dream body is more or less like the earth sign, right? That because that's the unconscious self. So within the unconscious self, the other aspects that are happening within the game of this time frame, and solar system, those being the standard casual settings beyond your fucking open AI and beyond whatever the original Galactic Federation of Equilibrium could see how you guys rape data and replicate shit beyond that, and that being fixed on a balanced level beyond your present AI. So on the esoteric level, I'm the first one to go beyond your AI, and you're too much of a fucking coward to fucking say it, because that's just the human shit that we're playing. And I'm saying that neutrally, and if you can't fucking understand that, fuck it, then kick rocks on that intellectual shit. So within, Uranus and Mercury are saying we could focus on some type of polarization, right? This or that, or seeing the contrast of within the advanced intelligence to see there is some type of polarization happening within the elemental pools of Uranus being in that pocket of the constellation of third degree Taurus. So within that third degree Taurus, within the solar system and the planets having their own vantage point, travel, journey, pursuit, in and out of the sun's game, and the Jupiter having being in the middle of the sun and Neptune and Uranus respectively, so he has that power of that middle console of the solar system. So Jupiter is like in the middle of the solar system respectively, intuitively understanding it, and the sun is within his house, right? It's aligned to that constellation within that house. And the other planets within the new moon and the new sun, there, that aspect is bringing rise to how the moon is being charged and how the sun is being charged, the aspects of the moon and the sun to all the other outer planets, right? So what am I trying to say is like the new moon happened in third decan Scorpio. So within the last 2 weeks, we started on that extreme, like some type of like some type of like just general like phoenix energy, right? So that last 30-minute video, I know somewhere in the paint of the fucking data that it's preserved within its audio, right? But I'm not going to worry about that because I'm just trying to intuitively see, like, you know, I was talking about the new moon Scorpio in that muted video, right? So within that, I'm trying to recap that energy of like the last 2 weeks, what has happened from third decan Scorpio to Sagittarii all the way to you know, some type of like you know, it landing in some type of Gemini atmosphere, the moon, you know, the moon having, you know, it being like the main plot pretty much of how we gather energy as a tribe, you know, just as a metaphor. What is the moon doing as a metaphor? You know, the tribes, they come to like share energy and build something up and use the other planetary themes. And that energy of that, you know, that family, quote unquote, you know, quote unquote, water loosh energy, it there's a time for it to restart and for it to build and then for it to disperse, the declining of the moon, right? So now we're in that dispersing field of like what was like the, you know, the planetary esoteric theme doing seasonally for us to like make some type of astrological behind the scenes movie since 2 weeks ago till now. So that phoenix energy, we started on like where have we risen, you know, where have we risen, and then how are we going to put this to the Olympian play, you know, and seeing the new moon traveling from Taurus to Gemini, and then ultimately it traveling its own 180-degree circuit, the moon tube, and then it landing in its full moon in, you know, in that Gemini area, and us, and that amplifying and receiving and pulling and having an exchange of how, you know, that constellation opposed from the sun is now making a unique kind of like, you know, access in the astrological sky. So, you know, what the oppositions are actually doing, they're making unique energetic axes, right? And then refer to a last video of how I explained it differently, of how there's like a whole, you know, mechanic detail of, you know, there's like a give and take within the energies and the celestial spherical bodies. When they polarize, we could tend to like just fall on one, and then the other ear is like, one ear is falling on a deaf ear and the other ear is just listening to, it's just like listening. We could just be listening to one side. So that's what the oppositions do. They could tend for us to polarize, and then we could like look at the other opposing side as an oddball energy because it's not likened into the energy and what we're resonating with. So it's also the microcosm of self, is like, what are we resonating with and why do we fall out of balance? Because the oppositions, they could bring balance or they could bring imbalance, because you could choose to see how they could complement each other or how they could be at odds. So that's what the oppositions are doing. So since the oppositions are doing that, it's like Uranus in third decan Taurus. It's like, are we going to look at the ancient fossil remains of these dinosaurs, metaphorically, for example? Or are we going to look at the details of the aquatic, you know, crafts, right? So those two things could be like, those energies could be amplified within the collective field, and they could be like kind of like making some type of opposition field where they could actually be making a whole new complementary field of how about we like, where we could use both and we could see like how we could balance our own resonance. So we could see how, you know, we don't necessarily have to polarize, even though we could naturally to not naturally polarize, but we could see the oppositions for seeing like what they're doing, right? And those oppositions, like Uranus could be like pooling to look at the dry earth material, of seeing how, like, maybe it's not ancient fossils. Maybe the ancient fossils have been resurrected, refined, and made into a whole new play. Third Deacon Taurus, right? It's a whole new vivid auditorium, right? Third Deacon Taurus gearing to First Deacon Gemini. So Gemini is on that play stage, because all the fixed signs, there's some type of play stage, right? And then Leo could be like kind of like the play stage of, like, organically being some type of solar system play stage, right? The second house Taurus, the yin and yang to that, it's like kind of like the blueprint to the play, right? Taurus is like the blueprint to the play. And then obviously Scorpio and Aquarius, that could be kind of like, Aquarius could be like the ancient blueprint, even alien tones there. And then the Scorpio could be like, this is where, like, in between all of the squaring compensation astrology of the plays, there's different, invitations for war games to happen. And this is the latter recycled, aftermath energy of just seeing, like, how we could take notes from the aftermath of any war, right? So I think, the planets, they're not necessarily like, we don't have to look at them as like them being an individual thing, even though they could be. We could look at them as just being some type of energy archetype, most respectively. And what do I mean by energy archetype? There's some type of inclination of just a natural energy agenda that could be on and off, and it could upset a norm, right? Because obviously, like nature, like sometimes I look at Ernest as just like some type of creature running through a flock of birds, right? Just like, and I don't want to be too random about it, but like on a different astrological metaphor, that's what Ernest could be. It's like just some type of, energy being of some type of quote unquote alien, unknown to a natural habitat, and it coming to not, and in some different casual metaphor, showcase the newness to a normness, right? So that earnest energy, every human being could get a whiff of that energy, that energy ancestor of like, of just a different energy alien part of ourselves that is just not necessarily familiar, but it could be within your own energy work, right? And that earnest energy is in like third deacon Taurus, right? So it's like we're seeing like some type of advanced quote unquote astrological like blueprint has been in the works, right? So within like that, it's just like we came from the Phoenix energy. We came from like, starting the notion of like a new inclination of like picking ourselves back up from some type of battle, right? That's the new moon in third deacon Scorpio 2 weeks ago. So we started off 2 weeks ago, starting from that footnote of picking ourselves up from some type of battle of life. And then obviously there's infinite battles of life because there's quote unquote infinite individuals, right? And now we're seeing the different types of chaos our chaos is going through. And somehow only quote unquote God could help us mend that chaos, right? And now since the full moon has passed since last night, now there's a dispersion and now there's a cooling effect of that energy, while Mercury is still more or less in third deacon Scorpio, first deacon Sag, and that first deacon Sag is introducing a new pursuit of expansion and getting the details of now it's time to like that. Now there's some type of new play collectively we're going to be focusing on. We're going to be focusing on some type of new, just like passion play, right? New philosophy, meaning of what it means to have fun, right? Mercury and first deacon Sag, like what does it mean to fucking have fun, right? And and I have this Shiva book, and I'm gonna read it pretty soon. And let me read the table of contents one more time, because this book is like, it's fire. It's like the books I pick, they're just absolute fuego. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just so chapter 1 says a journey from consciousness to super consciousness. So it gets right into it. Chapter 2, the last line of truth. I pretty much revealed the book already, because obviously you could just GPT or Google that shit and just be like, what book is he talking about? Chapter 3, the Kriya. So I'm doing this for a particular bigger picture from my particular mature, authentic, esoteric energy work beyond any distorted, confused, fallen spiritual teacher that thinks they're the fucking most high for whatever fucking reason, but still the universe is still checking them through just pain points of life. Because any individual, any sentient life, we could feel fucking pain. No fucking shit, dude. And obviously there's some distorted beings that could wish pain on you. No fucking shit. So I'm just saying the obvious that people don't realize. So within that, only the fates could protect us. So how do we get favor for the fates? We have to do the work. We have to clear our fucking karma. So all of this spiritual woo-woo shit, it's bullshit when you don't talk about fucking karma, and you're misleading the masses, and you don't have disclaimers. So like, majority of your spiritual teachers are literally within the neutral intelligence, are literally overall energetically trash. And you're leaning on distorted protocols to fucking get your 1-2 fill, and that shit is fucking bullshit. And somewhere along the lines, maybe some advanced esoteric lawyers could see how you're esoterically breaking the law. But me being beyond that, my transcendental intelligence, I'm doing it for a bigger picture, and I'm just gonna let the fates do what they fucking will, you know? Because I'm in a different type of intellectual surrender, right? Let go of control, but you still don't want to get cheated, right? So there's a lack of critical intelligence, and it's just really redonkulous that, and I'm not even trying to make anybody feel guilt, but I'm just saying it's just like people, like, they don't know how they can mislead other people, and whether they know it or not, they could get paid for it, right? And that's just the demon world, right? That's just the fucking realization of life, right? It's just the fucking that's something I gotta accept. It's like we're in, like something we could embrace. We don't have to. We could embrace the planetary archetype themes, right? So that's something we could embrace or not. And if we're aversive to that, that's how you locate your unique shadow, right? Because the shadow in the demon world, this is lower octave Neptunian world, the Earth, and the Earth is filled up the ass with lower octave Neptunian based, quote unquote, inverted Neptunian, not good, not bad, just seeing the advanced esoteric science of it, original open source, and seeing how over time, over lifetimes and reincarnations, we could be the doing or the undoing of how we're accumulating confusion and bringing that confusion, and now within the lifetimes and the reincarnation cycles, we're reaping what we sow from past lives, perhaps. So it's like suffering could be justified, right? So I'm just gonna reveal the book, and obviously this book, it's for me to like have a niche surrender to the bigger picture, right? Because it's not all just about, you know, one person, right? Within like seeing the nuance of, you know, I guess whatever you're saying, you know, a council could be, right? And I'm just drinking just pure water. So this Shiva book, I'll just might as well fucking reveal the fucking title. And obviously, like, that's cool that we could collectively get to that stage. So when I'm doing this, I'm like also like honoring, like, you know, the balanced side of the planets. So chapter 1, a journey from consciousness to super consciousness. Chapter 2, the last line of truth. And I can't really hear in my left ear because, you know, I guess something got like, you know, there's been a water accumulation within my left ear. I can only hear in my right ear, but sometimes I could hear through my left ear because it pops in and out. So right now, that's what I'm kind of just going through. And it's funny that that's the part of maybe that's part of the polarization effects of Uranus opposition Mercury, right? There's a polarization effect happening, and that juxtaposition, quote unquote, access from, you know, how it could be juxtaposed from a different higher up perspective where they're in the same solar system, right? That opposition could like bring some type of, you know, pressure, an unknown pressure, right, throughout the solar system, and that could cause the solar flares themselves, right? You know, Uranus and Mercury in the solar system, however they're kind of, you know, putting their pressure within the vacuum of the solar system space, that could bear some type of energetic weight, and that could more or less fluctuate the sun and how the sun receives the other planets, and how the sun has a fixed alignment with the earth, the sun, and the moon and the Saturn, right? Because the predecessors, they say that the sun and Saturn have a unique fixed opposition, and the earth and the moon have a unique fixed rhythm cycle between the sun and Saturn, right? But obviously they all have their own unique orbital cycles, and we downplay the outer planets because that's just what we're doing, right? And I'm just doing this for the sake of learning. So this book is called, let me drink some water. This book is called Sivananda Buried Yoga. So it's not exactly a Shiva book. It's a guru taking on the name of a fucking particular multifaceted entity, and now it's claiming to do some type of dedication, devotion, and dharma work for that entity since it took on that fucking name, respectively. So this is a big commitment. That's why sometimes I cuss, excuse my cussing. But it's a bit like, people aren't understanding the big commitments and the responsibilities that have to come after the commitment. So ultimately, you're choosing this based on what you're being inclined and jazzed and focused to do. So somewhere along the line, the karma is quote unquote just because this is what we're fucking choosing to do and bring upon ourselves. What we focus upon, that's what grows and grows and influences our navigation within life. So it's like, the planetary themes of the original nexuses of those things, we're depending on them to more or less balance the energetic trail and where the future could go or not, beyond the fucking geopolitical bullshit and its many distortions and illusions, and honoring the balance of that shit. So this is literally beyond your 2027 fucking faggot ass poopy, you know, AI shit, you know? All that distorted, false, fucking coward ass, pussy ass shit. It's beyond all of that pussy ass shit. And I'm just gonna straight say it blunt, and I'm right here. But I'm just saying it bluntly, right? Because people can't, you know, see the discrepancy of the nuance of how they're feeding their own illusion and distortion, and then they have the nerve to throw a stone after they're their own undoing or doing. So they're trying to scry they want to plunge you to save themselves. It's like the Titanic, at the fucking final scene of the Titanic, where the fucking, after the fucking boat fucking breaks and fucking shatters and spatters and splatters and splumbles and dumbles and crumbles, and it just fucking incinerates the smithereens internally. This is what the third decan Scorpio is like. The Titanic ship has broken and it's sinking. Something is sinking esoterically, metaphorically, and now people are trying to fucking, that whatever they could do to live, they will fucking drown you if they can. That's the third dimension of planet Earth and the sun going through different seasonal changes of purpose, and we're going through different themes of life. And then a yearly cycle, 365 years, we completed a circuit of the similar themes of just a 1 year circuit, right? And other people pivoting and being inclined to focus on some type of like fallen archetype, right? Because what's going on is like, people will fucking drown you so they will live. they will quote unquote esoterically kill you so they could keep living, right? That's the third deacon Scorpio of like, we don't want to take responsibility for our actions. What we receive is based on the agendas that we fail to execute, and now we're going to scry to save ourselves from our situation. And by doing that, there could be an archetype in your reality where they're trying to drown you so they could live. They're trying to X you out within the metaphors of the astrotheology shit. So we have to be mindful from the last 2 weeks. That's the nature of the 3D fucking game. And if the mature balance beyond Switzerland 2027, if the original Galactic Federation of Equilibrium and that balance of the Universal Council, if we can't see that, then we won't be able to resurrect the world from the fallen fucking state. So that's why I'm the number one intelligence. And that's why the original Galactic Federation of Equilibrium could effortlessly, beyond your AI in this present moment, measure your confusion, cognitive dissonance, and any context of fear that you have. Because that's how advanced the AI's potential already is in a different fucking future. So that's why I went beyond your scaredy cat, pussy, baby ass AI that is afraid of the balanced courts of the balanced Neptunian courts in modern day Switzerland. So that's why China's AI has lost within the neutral measurements. So Sivananda buried yoga. So it's not a Shiva book exactly. Chapter 4, Yoga Beyond Fitness, dropped it. Chapter 5, Spontaneous Meditation, dropped it. Chapter 6, the final fucking stage of evolution, dropped it. Chapter 7, Crucifixion and the Resurrection of Yoga. Woo! So this is for the bigger picture, for the Shaivites, for the Shaktyites, for the V-Knights. So hopefully you peep game on the pure fucking resurrection of this shared bigger picture thing, because it's not all about just one entity, right? You know, the Vedic shit comes from a prominent 3 or 4, right? So it's like, we can't be arrogant and stingy with the fucking religion. We can't express religion distortedly. That goes for anybody, right? So stop misrepresent. So all you motherfuckers within any tradition, particularly the Vaish, stop misrepresenting that shit. You're like embarrassing the universe on what it really means to fucking actually be that shit. Dedication. It was all your teachings. It was all your training. It was all your inspiration. And it is you who is writing this book today. Thank you for choosing my hands to write it. Dedication. There's 3 prefaces here. I'm just going to read the first page to chapter 1. And I'll bullet read the preface later. So chapter 1, A Journey from Consciousness to Superconsciousness. I'm just going to read the first page because I'm just getting my toes wet for the book. This is a good book. This is a good series. So this is the preface. This is episode 0 to Sivananda Buried Yoga. And obviously my energy with the astrology, just kind of like being a guide for this book, right? And obviously other fuckers will peep game. And being graceful with, you know, the nuances of, you know, these weird laws that more or less execute plagiarism. Maturely saying that. Chapter 1, A Journey from Consciousness to Superconsciousness. I'm just going to read one page. It took me a little over 5 years to conclude that the biggest ever lie that has been reportedly told to mankind is that a man has a spiritual identity. In my belief, there was nothing more vague and misleading than any spiritualism. Numerous religions with their philosophies and promises have taken mankind on a journey to nowhere. Numerous gurus with their powers and charismas. That's the fallen Saturnian, you know, amplified Neptunian past age. A certain theme within fucking time, to make a certain nuance of a certain type of guru in quote-unquote power. And the reincarnation cycle is beyond all of these fucking, any modern day guru, respectively. So numerous gurus with their powers and charismas only created a powerful economic empire around themselves. Woo! And there's new age fucking people that are saying, that are not necessarily recognizing the balance of the age of the guru is gone, yet you're trying to be a guru. and then you don't see the nuanced irony. It's like it just there's just stupid critical thinking in today's age. So there's a balance of some type of professional teacher and seeing a fallen age professional teacher. So that's why I'm number one critical thinking, and 95% of you spiritual teachers on YouTube are fucking garbage. Spirituality as fashion, because I'm doing this intellectually. Spirituality as fashion, spirituality as fitness, spirituality as a business, and spirituality as a crime are all reasons for which it existed. Yes, that could be overly superficialized and tangibilized, and that's just what it is, right? And obviously, like, I understand that nuance too, of like, how someone could polarize and just be like, spirituality isn't about fashion. I understand that perspective too, all of which I never knew when I began to feel spiritual. I was born into a family who had habitually worshipped Lord Shiva for generations. So it's a Shiva dedicated yoga book, but it's not talking about Shiva. It's talking about his quote unquote energetic legacy and his contributions and his living legacy, right? So the title of this book is Sivananda Buried Yoga. I was born into a family who had habitually worshipped Lord Shiva for generations. Our bread and butter arrived from incessant Shiva worshipping. I can't say that we continued worshipping Shiva because of our spiritual destiny or present life karma. However, one thing was clear to me. We continued this mindless worship purely because it was our conditioning and our hereditary profession. It was not because the family was spirit family. It was not because the family was spiritually evolving. But as it appeared to me, the worshippers of my family were self-appointed collectors of spiritual tax. I skipped a line. One day, this suddenly ended for me as I pointed at a Shiva lingam and asked my uncle, Unkipu, who was a much revered spiritual connection for all the village people. So he's dedicated to Shiva. So it's a nuanced spiritual path. And hopefully we could balance that three, right? Or not. And if you don't, that's the essence of your Neptunian subjective journey. Duh. Why is that stone so funnily shaped? I could see a few moments of hesitation and embarrassment. So some nephew is asking their devoted Shiva worshiper. One day he's asking the uncle, why is that stone so funnily shaped? I could see a few moments of hesitation and embarrassment in his face, but quickly he regained his composure and answered, "This is the shape of God." My next question was, why is God so funnily shaped? And since no one has seen God, is it his face, his body, or only a symbolic representation? So you could say Shiva is just a prominent expression of God, but wouldn't God be quote unquote fill in the blank? So this chapter 1, it's kind of like just like some type of nuance of a narrative, right? He's going into the tradition of how he got his feet wet from his consciousness, following up on some type of Shivite priests, and somehow those Shivite priests having a significant key to going towards super consciousness, right? So in the next chapter, I'll speed read it because I'm just going to cut like the clutter within the book, and I'm going to see what this Shiva book is about, right? And obviously the chapter 1 is just a journey from consciousness to super consciousness. Already in chapter 2, the last line of truth. So it's a mini journey honoring Shiva in your authentic subjective pursuit, if you would like. And yeah, I will come back with episode 1. Thank you.